Welcome to Schoolin' Around, a podcast hosted by Branching Minds, featuring prominent leaders, subject matter experts, and thought innovators with their perspectives on the current challenges facing K-12 education. I am your host, Larissa Napolitan, a former teacher, instructional coach, and a member of the Branching Minds team, here to lead conversations and to shine a light on phenomenal educators and those that are on a mission to transform our schools and the lives of students. Maybe you've been listening for a while, or this is your first episode. If you like what you hear, would you do us a favor by rating and reviewing us on iTunes? This is a fantastic way to tell us you enjoy what we are creating. Also, if you want more MTSS resources, sign up for our weekly newsletter using the link in our show notes, and check out our website for all the blogs and guides you would ever need about MTSS. Today, we're digging into an essential topic for any educator, leaders, and teachers alike, one that I am very passionate about. You may have heard the phrase, "it takes a village," when it comes to raising a child. Well, today we're going to talk about what that means within the schools and how facilitating family involvement is essential to MTSS success. It's really easy as an educator to think that you're acting alone or kind of in a vacuum. But so much of what we do is impacted by a student's family, and so much of what we do in the classroom or in a school impacts that child's life and their family. So let's grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and chat about how we can better support our students together. Recently, my sister sent me a text asking me if emailing her children's teachers multiple times a week was too much. She was anxious about how her 3 elementary age kids were doing, especially one who needed a little bit more support. She really wanted more communication from the teacher, but in her words, she didn't want to be that parent. On the other hand, we as teachers might go through that kind of same scenario in our heads. What is the right balance for communication with parents without seeming too negative or annoying? As a former teacher, I know firsthand how crucial it is for families and school staff to work as a team. We all are aiming for the same outcome, the children's growth and success. We really want good things for them. Family collaboration and communication are important aspects of a multi-tiered system of supports. When we maintain positive interactions and give honest, constructive feedback, we build trust and improve student outcomes. Increased family engagement, research shows, significantly impacts student attendance, their own engagement, and overall success. Those of you listening are most likely preparing for another school year. In fact, you may be sitting in your office or classroom while you're listening to this. And this is a great time to start thinking about how to start off the year on a great note with families. Because everyone's excited for the new school year, and there is most likely no other time they are as engaged and present like they are at the beginning of the year. So let's break down 5 practical tips to enhance family involvement in the MTSS process this year. So first, foster those personal relationships. You may already focus on this in the classroom, but the beginning of the year is a great time to get to know the families as well. You could use surveys or informal conversations to learn more about their needs or their concerns. When I was a teacher, I worked with my team to send home a survey to parents to get to know them and their children a little bit better. And as an English teacher, I always love to ask questions about reading habits and their interests and even their hopes for their students this year. If you do this, don't forget to include those questions that might shine a deeper insight about that student for your class. And nobody knows that student better than the parents because they live with them every day. Make parents feel like they are the best resource you have to better understand their child, because it's true. They are the best resource. Next, start with a warm introduction. It is important to positively introduce the MTSS framework to families. Especially as leaders, I really want you to think about this is how are you going to introduce this in the year? So maybe this is through that opening communication, the introductory letter home, or a back to school night that you have with parents and families. Make sure that they understand how the system supports all students, including those that need extra help. This will build a solid foundation of trust and openness. And if you need a great starting resource for this, we actually have some slides in the show notes explaining what MTSS stands for and what that means for their student. Sometimes just explaining how the whole process works and what MTSS means will go a long way for parents who don't understand educator jargon. My third tip is to establish clear communication protocols. And what I mean is, as a school and district team, it is crucial to develop a clear plan for when and how to communicate with families. Consistent and transparent communication helps to make sure everyone is on the same page and prevents those misunderstandings. So, for example, it's a pretty good idea to establish a calendar of communication, whether that be the letters you're sending home or emails that will go out to families about maybe assessment schedules so that they will know how to ready their students for assessment days. And as a team, there should also be a plan about when you're going to send out communication when a student is needing intervention or if they need a plan of support outside of that tier one instruction. A part of the communication protocol should be deciding what tools or channels are used for communication, such as emails, letters, phone calls, or even text messages. Like, what's your local context protocol? Is there an app that your school uses for communication? You want to make sure you establish that with your district and with your team to make sure, like, you know what do you use. So communicate about the communication. And so that leads to my next tip, that is track and share your communication efforts. Keep a shared log of all the interactions with families. This will help ensure that everyone involved in the student's education is aware of the past communications and can build on them, not just say the same thing over and over again. Nothing says that a team isn't collaborating and communicating, like when a parent gets either no or too much communication. Keeping everyone in the loop is key. And this means making sure that everyone has access to that log and they check it before sending communication, or even designate one person that sends the emails or makes the phone call to the family. I remember sitting in a team meeting when we all realized with a collective oops that we had each sent an email about a student failing our course. That poor parent probably opened their inbox to a flood of bad news all on the same day. Yikes. I have a really great template to share with you. And so you can check out the show notes to get a copy that you can edit for yourself and maybe tweak for what you want to include in that. But by the way, if you use an MTSS platform like Branching Minds, it's really easy to keep all your documentation in one place. And that's a surefire way to ensure that everyone has access to everything that they may need. It's really easy for administrators to pull up the log when they're having a conversation with parents. So, finally, my last tip is to empower students and families through student led conferences. If you're not already doing this, I really love student led conferences because it really does provide students a front row seat to their own future. Traditionally, these kind of conferences, parent teacher conferences, are conversation amongst the adults. But student led conferences really require the student to take an active role in their learning. And so it's about them setting goals and reflecting on what they need to change to accomplishment and even being aware of their own strengths and weaknesses. When I had students provide an update to their parents about my class, they often thought so much deeper about their learning. It became not just about their grade, but how they were doing on specific skills, about how much more they were loving reading, or whether they were struggling with writing an essay. So if this kind of piques your interest and you want to learn more, I'll have a few resources in the show notes about student conferences. I even have kind of a template slideshow put together that you can copy and have students fill out for themselves. All of this to say is when teachers and families are on the same team, everyone benefits, especially the students. Communication between family and schools is that cornerstone to student success. By using these tips, you can foster stronger relationships and create a supportive environment for all students without forgetting to let parents genuinely know that they're an essential part of the team supporting the child. Each new school year, I would have a dream list, things that I would do differently, how I can improve on what I did the year before. So maybe take a moment with me right now to reflect on how you could improve communication in your school community this year. Are you reaching the parents in the way that you want to be reaching them? And so maybe think about what's one thing that you could do to set your year up for success in this way. What's one thing that your team could do differently? I personally would love to know what your goals are. So feel free to share about this episode on social media and kind of add in what your goals are for the year, or you can even comment on our episode on Spotify now. And we now have an email for the podcast. So you can email us at podcast@branchingminds.com with what your goals are, or even comments or reflections about this episode or any of our episodes. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of Schooling Around. Until next time, keep supporting our students and building those connections. And for those of you that are sitting in your office right now, getting ready for this new school year, I hope that you are excited about what's to come. Thanks for listening to Schoolin' Around, a podcast hosted by Branching Minds. Go ahead and subscribe to our feed wherever you listen to podcasts. And don't forget, if you are enjoying our content, would you do us a favor and rate and review our podcasts on iTunes? This helps others find our podcasts and lets us know how much you love what we're creating. Branching Minds is an educational technology company using learning sciences and technology to help districts effectively personalize learning through MTSS. To learn more about us, check out our website, branchingminds.com, or follow us on Twitter, Facebook, or LinkedIn @Branching Minds.